let's talk credit scores. We have an episode coming up on credit scores, so I figured I'd take this opportunity now because I just checked my credit score, and you can see, so I'm Canadian, so the top credit score is 900, and you can see a little bit that it dipped down the last 3 updates, and the only thing that changed was how much of my available credit I was using. So I was actually using less of my available credit. So it was like at or very close to 0% utilization rate. So this just speaks to, and we get into this on the podcast, about how a credit score is really a score that shows how well you manage debt. And you actually get dinged if you're not using the debt that you have available to you. So having a utilization rate above 1% actually helps your credit score. So this utilization rate, we will describe it in depth, how to calculate it, but we also talk about what products it actually applies to. So if you have credit cards and you're not using them and you're looking to improve your credit score, we do recommend using your credit cards for a subscription or two or some recurring payments, and then not paying those things off until after your billing cycle closes. So this is the key. What you're using on your credit card needs to be reported to the credit bureaus to help your credit score. If you are on the low end of utilization rate, you're not using much of your credit. And to do that, your billing cycle has to close. So on the last day that you see on your statements, this is when your billing cycle closes. And as soon as that closes, you can pay the balance off in full at any time. And to avoid any interest being charged on your card, you want to make sure to pay off your full balance before the due date. So you've got to give yourself a few days to let that transaction clear your bank and get paid off. So really focus on the utilization rate, because this is a big key to your credit score. If you have a utilization rate above 30%, this will hurt your credit score. If you have a utilization rate below 1%, it will also hurt your score. So, in the just above 1% to the 10% range seems to be the sweet spot. So play around with your utilization rate and see how it impacts your credit score. So if you are on the end of carrying a balance on your credit cards and lines of credit, we kind of look at this from the flip side, and then we recommend being able to make your payments as often as possible. And if you're coming up to being able to make a payment soon, if you can get it in before that billing cycle closes, then that's going to help reduce your utilization, because the only point in time that the credit bureaus know what your utilization rate is that once a month, when the credit card companies and the banks, if you've got lines of credits, report to the credit bureaus, is when that billing cycle closes. So for lines of credit, it's more typically at the end of the month, but for credit cards, the cycle closing date can be any time throughout the month. So check your last statement, see when your bill closing date, your statement closing date is, and either don't make a payment if your utilization is really low and you're just trying to get that use reported to the credit bureaus, or if you're carrying a balance and you're trying to reduce your utilization, get that payment in as soon as you're able to, and ideally before that billing cycle closes. So if you've got any more questions about credit cards, utilization rate, credit scores in general, drop them in the comments. But I also encourage you to check out the Mind and Money podcast, because we talk all things credit scores in an upcoming episode.